good? Good evening. Welcome to Assumption Parish School Board meeting. We will begin with roll call by the superintendent. I'll do the board prayers, and Mr. Myers will lead us in the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Lewis,
Here.
Mr. Meyer, Mrs. Barra, Ms. Fletcher Mickens, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Washington, Mrs. Hood,
Here.
Mrs. Arso, Mrs. Dugas. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. The agenda will be followed as presented. My awesome God, on this beautiful day, we give you thanks for all the love and the blessing thou hast bestowed upon us. We thank you for our family, our friends, and all the individuals in the Assumption Parish School District. Thank you for caring and keeping a watchful eye over us in our journey as we strive to educate our loved ones while providing a safe environment conducive to learning. Dear Lord, please continue to bless, protect, and guide us through as we try to overcome the challenges that plagues our school environment. Our faith and hope in you keep us going from day to day. Dear God, we know your love for all mankind will stand when all else fails. Please, dear God, if we fall along the way, give us the strength to get back up again. In his holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, guys, mics on and volume up. Motion to adopt the agenda. Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Washington. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. On the consent agenda, we have adopt a couple of resolutions. The first from Ms. Regina Tomplay. Mr. Superintendent, you have those?
Yes, sir. The resolution reads as such. Whereas we, the members of Assumption Parish School Board, have learned of the untimely death of Ms. Regina Tomplay, an outstanding employee and citizen of Assumption Parish. And whereas by her devotion and loyalty, she had come to be recognized as a most valuable asset to the Assumption Parish family of public educators. And whereas Ms. Tomplay served Assumption Parish for 12 years, and whereas her life was a record of service and devotion to children, community, and family, her loss will be shared by all who cherish the education of the young, especially the young of Assumption Parish. Now therefore be it resolved that the Assumption Parish School Board deeply regrets the untimely loss of a true friend and servant to public education and offers her family our deepest sympathy in their time of grief. Be it further resolved that a copy of this expression of sympathy is presented to the family with our deepest condolences.
Family members here?
Resolution reads as such. Whereas we, the members of Assumption Parish School Board, have learned of the untimely death of Ms. Ruth Ellen Thomas, an outstanding employee and citizen of Assumption Parish. And whereas by her devotion and loyalty, she had come to be recognized as the most valuable asset to the Assumption Parish family of educators. And whereas Ms. Thomas served Assumption Parish School Board for 22 years, and whereas her life was a record of service and devotion to the children, community, and family, her loss will be shared by all who cherish the education of the young, especially the young of Assumption Parish. Now therefore be it resolved that the Assumption Parish School Board deeply regrets the untimely loss of a true friend and servant to public education and offers her family our deepest sympathy in their time of grief. Be it further resolved that a copy of this expression of sympathy is presented to the family with our deepest condolences. Ms. Thomas' family is here?
No family members here.
Okay, all right.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Dye, second by Ms. Uso. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Next, under reports of recognition, receive administrative personnel report. Each of us has a copy of that in our files and folders. Please view it at your leisure. Next, recognize and honor the 2022 through 2023 Belrose Middle School Support Person of the Year.
Good evening, everyone. I see there's a bunch of new faces in the audience. So as at every beginning of the first of the month, we are recognizing a support employee of the month for 2022. And in November, it's Belrose Middle's turn to recognize one. What I can tell you, what I know about this employee is that she has stepped up in every way that she's been asked. When she first got hired, she got hired on as a paraprofessional. She's had to take over a class and act as a teacher in the role, go back to a paraprofessional. We had a secretary open. She turned around and acted as a secretary at one point in time, and now she is the current secretary at Belrose Middle School. This is a well-deserved award from Belrose Middle. This year's 2022 November Support Employee of the Month is Ms. Kristen Metrazine.
Barely.
Now, can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Kristen, for what you've done at that school. We appreciate you, and I'm sure the teachers and the children really are happy to have you there.
Yeah, it looked like you wore many hats in that capacity over there at Belrose, huh? And I understand there's a birthday in order too? Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We understand, please do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Under policy and procedure, adopt a resolution expressing support for Louisiana Association of School Superintendent, LASS, proposal to reimagine the Louisiana Public School Accountability System and urge the Louisiana Department of Education, State Superintendent Dr. Cade Brumley, and the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, ESSA, to adopt their proposal instead of the current proposal presented by the BESSA Accountability Working Group in August 2022, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Need a motion? Motion by Mr. Robinson. Second by Mr. Washington. Questions or comments?
I have a question. It says on here, whereas that last accountability proposal also limits testing to that mandated by ESSA. What exactly are the tests that are mandated by ESSA?
And it's not, So our regular standard testing, so what the proposal is just not to stop testing, but to minimize testing. So we don't want to over-test our kids. So that's one of the proposals. That's one of the changes that they are proposing. So it's just regular standardized tests, but we don't want to over-test the kids. That's kind of like what the Louisiana School Superintendent's Association is trying not to do. Because I think that was something also the parents and the students said, like, our kids are already testing enough, do we have to continue to test them? So what specific tests, I can't answer the specific question as it relates to a specific test, but it's overall just testing our kids more and more and more. So you're still gonna have your LEAP test, you're still gonna have, you know, your ACT test, things like that to measure success, student success, but it's the additional tests that they're looking at to try not to use.
And won't necessarily limit, a district's, not say curriculum, but their diagnostics that they use.
No, ma'am. And district testing is totally up to us. So a lot of our teachers use our own diagnostic testing to determine where our kids are, and then they can actually create a plan to try to help those kids. We also use a lot of testing when it comes to moving kids in and out of interventions. So that will not affect, this is 100% state testing. Will not affect district-wide testing.
Okay, I guess I'd just like to see a more concrete plan
Yeah.
than just a resolution, like what's gonna be measured, how it's gonna be measured.
I can send, I have a copy, I would send a copy to the board tonight, but there is a very specific plan as far as what percentage each test will weigh. For example, ACT test has, the State Department is proposing a certain weight, while the Louisiana School Athletic Association, as well as LSBA, is presenting a different percentage to weight in as it relates to school performance score. Also, the state accountability formula is, I guess the projection is that we will lose the majority of our A and B schools in our state. So what the Louisiana School Athletic Association proposed, as well as LSBA, saying, let's not just make it so hard for our schools to become A and B schools. Let's work with our schools in trying to increase accountability, but at the same time not hurt our school performance scores. But I'm gonna tell y'all, we will see a decrease. If this passes, or when it passes, the new accountability formula will decrease the number of A and B high schools in the state of Louisiana by far. So currently, right now, let's say, for example, if Assumption High School is an A school, Assumption High School with this new formula will probably be a B or a C school across the board. And that's every parish in the state. That's why it's a huge push. I've attended several meetings at the State Department, as well as within our organization, as well as working with the executive director of LSBA. And we are really advocating to make sure that we do not decrease the number of A and B schools, high schools across the state, that large. We don't want that large of a gap. Accountability is needed, 100%, but we just feel as though, you know, what is the purpose of high school? How are we measuring the success of our children? And are we allowing input from all stakeholders and not just saying, hey, Bessie is proposing one proposal, or we getting input from other constituents, or we other stakeholders. So that's why Louisiana Superintendent's Association and the Louisiana School Board Association partner up and say, here's our voice, here's what we're hearing from our constituents, and that's what we're proposing.
I think LDOE would be better served if they came out and helped us support all of our new teachers. That's where we need it. That's where our student success is gonna begin. You know, we can only do what we can do with all of the new teachers, inexperienced teachers across the nation.
Yeah.
It's not just us, it's everywhere.
Yeah. And the new proposal is it's created with more challenges for our students to earn a higher grade when it comes to SPS, and our schools earn a higher grade when it comes to SPS, because some of the requirements are to be in A school or B school, kids have to earn like 12 dual enrollment credits, all kids. You know, kids have to earn an associate's degree. So there's a lot of different things that we are saying, like, look, wait a minute, we shouldn't just say, okay, pick a chosen future for our kids, allow our kids to choose their own future and work towards whatever they want to be. And I think LSBA and as well as LAS is saying, like, look, we shouldn't just make it so hard for schools to become A and B schools. We should really be listening to our community, our constituents, and saying, hey, what do our constituents and our communities are saying high schools should be? So there's a huge, huge debate right now, and this is our proposal that we're going to move forward with to present, and hopefully that Bessie adopts it. But it definitely will increase accountability in our high schools and middle schools, as well as elementaries.
Another thing is they should be looking more at individual student growth rather than the whole status quo.
And that's something that they're going to actually, so for example, when you look at student growth is a huge portion of our SPS right now, and the new proposal is actually decreasing that. So it's decreasing for our teachers that work hard. If there's a student who is far, far behind, and that teacher, get that kid to move up, we're not going to get the same amount of points, those bonus points from those kids, if we move those kids up as much as we got in the past. So they're actually eliminating some of that. Like right now, the State Department is proposing 0 points for a high school diploma. So if a kid graduates from high school, our high school will not get credit in an accountability system for a kid on the strength of diploma side for a student graduating with a high school diploma. I say if a kid graduates from high school with a high school diploma, and that kid goes into the military, that kid's grandfather went in the military, his dad went in the military, and that's all he would like to do, go serve our country, we should get credit for that because that's his chosen future. Yeah. Well, with the new accountability system, we would not get credit for that kid on the strength of diploma side. Right. So it's a lot that's going on right now, and we've been at the State Department having many conversations. And I think LSBA is saying, hey, they would like to unite all the school boards across the state, and let's really make a push to say, hey, we understand accountability. We want accountability for all of our kids in our schools. But at the same time, we don't want to create schools that are failing.
I think for the more than 70 school districts across the state of Louisiana, I think if a majority of the district passed this resolution, that's why Dr. Janet sent this to us, and particularly me, and asked that we hurry do it ASAP. Then you should receive something back from Bessie and the Department of Education, more concrete, more tangible. To your point there, Andrea, so something will be coming forward once all of us pass this resolution.
Yeah, but before we pass and approve it, I wanted more information also, because I was questioning about this proposal today. So that's what I'm saying, I wish we would have had more information before I approved this, because we have questions.
I have the actual proposal that we worked on that we're sending into Bessie, which basically supports what we have in front of us, which is the resolution. So I definitely could send that to the board members. That's not a problem at all.
I needed that.
Okay.
And another thing, like you said, the assumption high being an AB student, it's confusing when we have these middle schools that are DF schools. How did we get from DF to AB at the high school? That's the question. Everybody asks it.
And that is the challenge, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, how could you go from when in middle schools, when 30%, let's say only 30% of your middle schools and elementaries are A and B schools,
Right.
and 70% of your high schools are A and B schools.
What's going
But then, my question is more about, we should get better. We should get better as kids get older. We should increase scores as kids get older. But also, we need to identify what is the purpose of high school. In some people's eyes, the purpose of high school is to really look at and say, hey, they should be prepared for whatever their chosen future is. Some people may say, you know what, they should walk away with an associate's degree, ready to go into the workforce with all the trades and the skills that they need immediately. But then again, if you're a business owner, what we're hearing is that we don't want that 18-year-old to come into our chemical plant because we still need to train them, and the students still need to be need to mature. So there is some pros and cons to both sides of it. So I don't disagree with hey, what is the question as it relates to why we have more high schools than we have elementary and middle. But I also beg to differ and say, hey, well, what is the true purpose of high school? Because I don't want to get away from the autonomy of a kid saying, no, I want this path. And we said, no, I'm sorry, in order for us to be an A school, you have to do this. Well, we just eliminated that child's chosen future. So for me to say, okay, every kid in Assumption High School needs to take 12 dual enrollment credits, have an associate's degree, so on and so forth, that's putting our kids in a bubble. So that's why I say, you know what, it's work, there's value in a kid graduating with a high school diploma. I think a high school did a pretty good job if we could graduate every kid with a high school diploma, but also on the path to whatever their chosen future is. But in this new proposal that we're seeing, in order to be an A high school, you have to have all these extra things. And every kid doesn't fit in a bubble. So that's my stance, as it relates to the accountability formula. I'm all for accountability. I'm all for it. But I just also think there's value in children, high schools, supporting them wherever they would like to go and whatever they like to be in their life.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of push for dual enrollment. Will there be any credit for the vocational classes?
Yes, ma'am. So there's a huge push. This new formula is basically saying every kid, in order to basically have an A school, every kid should have at least 12 dual enrollment credit hours. On the vocational side, we're also saying that on the pathway side, kids need to have industry-based certifications. So, but again, what if I just want to graduate from high school? What if I just want to go to the military? It doesn't take into account the success of that student based on their family vision of success. I think we're trying to fit everyone into our idea of what success is. I think we're supposed to train, we're supposed to govern, we're supposed to guide, and we're supposed to provide those opportunities. But I think at the close of the day, I think we need to work with families and we need to work with the children and let them determine what their life would like to look like in the near future. That's just my opinion.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Melissa, roll call, please. Yes?
No.
Yes.
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 Thank you, ma'am. Motion passed. Next, under budget, approve one-time retention supplement. Need a motion? Motion by Ms. Dodd, second by Ms. Hood. Any questions or comments? So, Mr. B, again, let's just reiterate, this is coming out of ESSA funds, that's correct?
Yes, sir. This is, we would like to use, whenever we get an opportunity to give our teachers and our employees a stipend, we would like to use one-time monies. What I'm saying is nothing that's reoccurring. So it's not a reoccurring bill. This is just a stipend. So we are using ESSER funding for this. And we will be using $992,367 of it to give our teachers and our employees this stipend.
Looking at the total, you're talking right at 464 employees there. And
Yeah.
it's gonna be dispersed over two periods, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, we would like to give this a $1,000 stipend to now understand this is a retention stipend, meaning all the teachers that worked with us last year who was on the roster on May 25th, we want to make sure we take care of our teachers who are returning back. Now, we have a recruitment stipend for all the other teachers that are just coming into the district. But we want to show our teachers who've been with us, who's staying with us, that we really appreciate them. So it's a $1,000 stipend for those teachers, and then a $500 stipend for support. It will be divided up into two payments. It's actually a $2,000 stipend and a $1,000 stipend. So they're going to get $1,000 in November for our teachers, certified employees, and then we're going to give $500 for our support in November 2022. We're also going to give, because a lot of people, are thinking Christmas shopping, that's starting now. So let's give them their bonus now. And then also in May, we want to give $1,000 to our teachers, certified personnel, and then $500. So now they get $1,000 in the fall and they get $1,000 in the spring. Hopefully that'll help them if they decide to go on summer vacation, anything like that. They have $1,000 to do that, $1,500. So
Okay. Any
That's
other
the thinking
questions or
on that.
comments?
Is that,
I'd just like to say this, and this is, I'm sure very much appreciated by staff. I know I would put something into the salary schedule in the future, you know, in the near future if possible, to where it would be recurring, to where it would be every year or every month.
And I just want to be clear, are you referring to like an ad valorem check or that, are you talking about in the salary schedule on a yearly basis at the end? So in other words, do we give a teacher pay raise or we just talk?
And I know some districts do ad valorem.
Yes.
Depending on, you know, I'd
How we
like
doing?
for us to look at, you know, at both ways,
Okay.
you know, and see what would be something that would be affordable.
So all support staff get, $500? All support staff, you saying?
Yes, ma'am. You can see there's a criteria that we have where it says qualifications,
Okay,
which is active employed on the final day of last year, which was May 25th, and actively employed right now when the stipend go out in November and in May. If you're not active, if you're on leave without pay, or you're on workman's comp on those pay dates, you will not receive anything. If employees are using sabbatical or extended medical, they were, obviously you receive 65% of it, because that's kind of like the formula that we've always used.
okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Next, under facilities and ground, authorize the superintendent to acquire architectural services for AHS football stadium renovation. Need a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Hood, second by Mr. Robinson. Questions or comments? So, Dr. B, this is just going out and soliciting architectural service, that's correct?
Yes, I think we really need to start looking at, we have our academic plan in place. And I think we really need to start looking at our facilities of how we can improve our facilities. And this is a step. And look, and we have to look at it from both ways. We have to look at our co-curricular facilities, the facilities like our sports and things like that, bands, so on and so forth. And we also need to look at our school buildings. And then the next item is more about looking at how we can improve our security in our school facilities. But here is really looking at our football stadium, because I've been around the parish and I'm listening to parents and students. Our football field is the only field in the parish. Our middle schools play there, our Little League play there, and if there's something that we can do, and you know, oftentimes I hear if it rains, we can't play on it. You know, oftentimes I hear it rains, you know, we have to not allow the middle school. We only can hold a field for the high school. So also I hear that from parents, everybody's saying, look, we don't want the visitors on our side anymore. You know, we want to look at options to see, hey, move the visitors to the other side of the field so they don't interact with our kids. And also I hear from some of the parents and the community members that the elderly, if you go in the stadium, our bleachers and stuff, there's no railings and things like that. So I think when we really look at it of how we can improve our facilities for our community, I think this is a start. I'm not saying that this is the end, but it's a start. We have to start somewhere. So that is the reason why I'm proposing this at this time.
I have a question.
I spoke to you about this and said I was in favor.
Yes.
And I was at the high school today, and I spoke to quite a few teachers and some of the staff there, and they feel like there's not that much work to be done there. That why would we go out and hire an engineer right now and spend money on that when we need so many other things? So I'm just, you know, I think we need to look at this strongly. I really don't think our money should be going to a stadium right now. The stadium is still, yes, it does need some repair. I've been hollering for handrails for a handicap for years now, and it's never been taken care of. But I really don't feel like with the pressure we under on the security and everything else that's going on, I really don't feel like this is the time, and neither does a lot of our staff people think that we should be putting out that kind of money right now. Thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree with Ms. Dodd. I really can't support this when we have students that are still going to class in mobile homes. It's just, you know, I just can't.
Yeah, at this point, I just would like to, yeah, yeah. I would like to get a design,
You'd have to probably come back.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say this, at some point, we have to start somewhere, whether we start in the classroom, whether we start on the field, whether we start in the buses, wherever, we just have to start. So that's kind of like,
And my question is, how do we choose the football field over the classroom?
well, that's why in the next proposal, I'm saying allow me to work with an architect to design of how we could keep, so I'm trying to do it simultaneously, so I could say, okay, we're gonna secure our facilities, but at the same time, we're gonna upgrade our facilities. So that's kind of like the reason why I have it in there, the way I have it.
I understand that, but when you're looking at an engineer fee, you know, that's money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't disagree.
It's just giving the superintendent authorization to go out there and search for a firm and stuff like that. There's nothing concrete or nothing like that that we cannot get out. So listen, I was in the stadium probably a couple of years ago. We were playing the school from south of us over here. The lady was coming down the stairs in the stadium, again, no hand railing, and she tumbled all the way to the bottom from about 10 steps up. And, you know, that's, yeah. Well, we need to start somewhere with that though. Yes, no problem, yeah, yeah. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Thought you need an engineer to tell you how much it is. You know, they got to have an engineer to do that. You can't just say we need hand railings and that's it.
What do we do in the off season? Like, do we go over there and do any kind of repairs on the football field or in the stadium? We were supposed to go and wash did we do that?
Yeah, we do those minor repairs, and we do cleaning of the stadium, things like that, especially right before graduation. But, you know, we're talking about a renovation, you know, not just a repair. So that's the difference. But we do go to the stadium and try our best with the companies and the manpower we have to clean the stadium and to get it up and running so we can have graduation.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Doors and Ricky was saying something? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Well, we would pay a fee, a designing fee, to design, you know, whatever we asking them to design, which is, you know, concession stand on the other side, restrooms on the other side, bleachers on the other side. What does our press box look like? What does our field, our stadium look like as far as track is concerned? I don't know if I've been on a track. We have holes in our track. You know, so there's a lot of different things that I'm gonna say, hey, let's take a look and see, you know, can you design us something? And then I'll bring it back to the board and we'll say, hey, you know what, Mr. B, we'll go with it. You know, it's something that we think the community need, or we would say no. So that's all I'm asking for, is to be able to go out and find out what it would cost, find out what it would look like.
First of all, academics, football, bring money to the schools. That's the #1 sport, bring money to the schools. So if you don't have that fixed up, we really need to get the football together with the stands and everything else, because that would brings money to the schools, football games.
And also, I think when you look at our neighboring parishes and around, we're only a few districts remaining that really don't have turf and you know, and things of that nature, renovations on their fields. So that's just something to look at. I'm just bringing an idea forward, and you know, I think that's part of what I do, right? To just say, hey, board, you know, I want to you know, look at these different options and see what we can do to try to enhance our facilities. So.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
The idea to solicit it, get information, it's not a bad deal as long as it doesn't cost a lot of money.
No, it's not, no.
Yeah, I'm not,
Do we know the cost? Do we know what it will cost?
whatever the architectural fee would be, I think is like maybe 4%, but it's just a design. We're just getting a designer fee. So it's not,
So 4% of the turf, that would be included in that price?
if we move forward with the project, yeah. There's a fee scale for engineers, a fee scale for architect, But I just really just would like to get a design completed, not coming back saying, hey, board, I got everybody ready to go, let's vote on the, services. I would like to present that to the board and to the community first, so.
We'll still be spending money.
Yeah, why are you gonna spend money on the design? Yes, ma'am.
Nothing for free, then.
Is it possible to get the design price and then bring it back and then we can vote on?
No, Rick, you know that don't work like that, man.
No.
Come on, you work in the industry, that
You
doesn't
got-
go like
It's
that.
work to get that.
What I'm saying
To
is,
get that, the person gonna wanna
you
get
know, it would
paid.
be good to not spend money
It's too
Well,
hard,
to
Rick.
get
Yeah.
the initial, if it's gonna cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
We don't know how much it's gonna cost, you know what I'm saying? So if we vote on this, it's like, we vote blindly to say, how much, we don't know. And while I agree, I think it would be great to upgrade what we got, I think it is.
You can't do it.
To know how much. And then what they're gonna say is, based on that, yay or nay. But I just, my fear is it's gonna come back and then we're gonna have, well, we voted on that and cost whatever. Because my God, we didn't need that. So what I'm getting at is I just like to know.
We all
All right.
would like to know how much, but that's not our business work, Rick.
Well, I realize how
Yeah.
this works, but when we up against like this, we can't just roll the dice and say, hey, let's see what's going on. Let's see if this works. It's just not, we just don't do that. Like I say, I agree with it. I think it'd be great.
If there's no other questions or comments, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Roll call, Melissa, please.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes?
Mr. Meyer,
No.
Ms. Barbara,
No.
Ms. Fletcher Mickens. Yes. Mr. Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Ms. Hood,
Yes.
Ms. Bristol,
No.
Mrs. Dugar.
No.
The yeas have it.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion carries. Next, under paragraph B, authorize the superintendent to acquire architectural service for securing school facilities. Need a motion? Motion by Mr. Washington, second by Mr. Robinson. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Next, any comments or announcement from the board members or administration?
I would like an update on the bus drivers and the meeting that was held. And I know we can't discuss the schedules, but I would like to know what happened with that.
So I've had several meetings, with our drivers. Our drivers, during that meeting, our drivers shared their concerns. I took notes. I also shared some as far as expectations and things like that from the school board is concerned. And I'm working right now to look at all of those options and see what we can do to better serve our drivers, but also make sure that, you know, the funding and the things that we're using to support our drivers is used in an equitable manner. So this is a ongoing work in progress. This is not something that you can say, hey, I want to change overnight, because we have to go into policy. You have to go into the salary schedule and make those adjustments if we want to make adjustments. So it's just not something that you could say, okay, we're going to fix or we're going to resolve in a short period of time. We do have some, we've made some strides, but we do have some things that we definitely need to resolve. And we need to, you know, have a vote on as a board and say, hey, you know, this is what we're going to present. These are the changes we're going to make within our policy. And also, you know, from a legal standpoint, we are obligated to make sure that we follow the law. So we have our attorneys right now with some of that information that I received from our drivers, looking over that information, and we'll present something to the board of how we should move forward on some of those concerns. So it's not I think it was a good informational meeting. I think it was a meeting that was needed, and I'm really excited about the things that we talked about, and also just really trying to get to a good place and say, okay, here are the expectations. This is the final decision on what we're going to do, and we move forward from there. So That's kind of like where I'm at right now. Once I get more information from legal, how we can proceed, then I will come back to the board and present that information, and then we will determine our next steps from there.
Do we have a time frame?
I
Any
was,
type of time frame?
I was hoping to get this information, so our attorneys were in court last week. I was hoping to get this information today, but I should have something from our legal team within the next couple weeks. So hopefully by the next board meeting, we should be able to have something in writing from our legal team to help give us some guidance on what are our next steps.
I would also like a report on our salary schedule for our teachers and where we at in our neighboring parishes compared salaries. We usually do that every so often.
Okay.
And we haven't had that report in a while, and I'd like to see that.
I'll do that for our employees, yeah, because I couldn't do that for the bus drivers as well, yeah,
For everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. B, when I heard about what happened at the, meeting with the school bus drivers, looked like it's a lot of, chaos. And every time you have a meeting, it look like it's chaotic. Look like you always tell me consistent and fair, consistent and fair. I get these drivers calling me and telling me some bus drivers could speak, others can't. And I don't like that, you know. And like I said, every time you have these meetings, to me, we're not getting nothing out of it. It's like making the rules to the game as we play. We got to have foundation and just facts, you know, how we gonna proceed. It's like, it's just keep changing. And when I'm getting these calls from these bus drivers, it's like, I don't know the rules anymore. That's not good. I really don't know the rules anymore. I'm confused. When I talk to staff, when I talk to bus drivers, it's like, I am confused now. I'm like, what are the rules? Today, I got a lot of calls, and I'm like, I can't talk to the staff, I can't talk to the bus drivers, because now I am confused. And that's not looking good on me as a school board member, because I'm confused now.
Okay.
When we getting out these meetings, why are we not, okay, I didn't go to the meeting, I didn't even know about the meeting, but why are we not being informed on what is taking place with these meetings? We have a secretary. It should be notes and what happened, record, what's going on, and given to us to let us know. I know you over personnel, we're not over personnel, we're just over you. But the idea, policies, we make the policies, and look like we're not following these policies. To me, you know, I'm like, it's one-sided.
And for myself, I would rather get the information from you
Yes.
than to get it on Facebook.
Yes, that's not good.
Well, I'll say this, we are following policy, and I'm not, you know, when we talk about information, sometimes there's a lot of information that's not true that's out there, you know? Some information may be true, but what I'm saying is, for us, I'm following whatever the policy is in the way it is written. And I think, for me, I got a lot out of the meeting, but also, that's the reason why you say, what are our next steps? I've been told, Mr. Bartholomew, from legal, we're gonna draft something up for the board, and when that information comes and made available to the board, then we're gonna have another conversation, say, here's what legal's saying. This is where we are on all the concerns that I heard from our bus drivers, and I think at that point, you have the equipment or the information to make an informed decision, because what we've done, we've made decisions without that information. So I think it's extremely important that we look at legal and say, hey, what are our options here, what we can do under the law, and then we make a determination from there. I think, you know, to some degree, people are correct that, hey, we have made decisions without getting the legal advice. So now we're getting our legal advice, and now we need to make informed decisions.
Yeah,
And stick
but
with them.
what I'm getting is a lot of pointing fingers, and I don't like that. Either it's like it's consistent and like you say, it's fair, and not making up rules, or they saying they getting this from the superintendent or the director of transportation or this and that, but after that, it's like, we not together, we got to get it together. That's why it's chaotic, because you saying you have to go to legal, but we need to be informed of what's going on too. You know, like I said, we make the policies, we got to make it stick. So if you go by the policy, go by the policy.
Okay,
Don't
guys.
change it.
And our policy should be following the law.
Okay, guys, thank y'all. That's, right. And I appreciate all the comments, but this is another item that could be attached to the agenda, so, it was just strictly a comment announcement section, so motion to adjourn. Got a motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Ms. Uso. Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries.